I do a lot of videos exposing the fraud of Donald Trump, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, and their allies running what I call the election fraud grift, pretending that the election was stolen so they can make money and pander to their base. I do it because I want people to know the truth. I want people to stop being misled by these scam artists. And my reward for my hard work trying to get the truth out there is my entire channel being deleted for doing the opposite of what I actually was doing. Basically, YouTube thinks that I'm pushing out the election was stolen, when I'm actually showing the election was not stolen. So yesterday they completely deleted my channel, and what am I doing the very next day? Posting another video showing the truth about the election, because I think a lot of people need to see this. And it's that important to me that the truth gets out there. Let's begin.
The Dominion software lie spread after human error led to a change in results in Antrim County, Michigan. At first, votes were erroneously awarded to Biden. But when officials questioned those unofficial results, they found a clerk failed to update important software, which led to the wrong voting machine totals. The mistake was quickly corrected and did not affect the state's official election results. But within days, Trump tweeted without evidence that the system had deleted 2.7 million Trump votes nationwide. Right-wing media fanned the flames.
What she just said perfectly illustrates the scheme. You have a situation that happens that in any way could be made to look like an attempt to steal the election. You simply present it as such, not as a, what was this about? You actually present it as they're stealing the election. Look what they did, 2.5 million ballots taken. Then you broadcast it to the conservative media ecosystem. People who love Trump, who voted for Trump, and are connected in this world, very emotionally charged. And to be fair, what if you voted for Biden and someone put something out that suggested that they stole 2.7 million votes from Biden? Seeing the corruption you've seen from the Republican Party, it would kind of be like, you would expect that from them, right? So think about how you'd feel. So then people start sharing it. It's all over social media, Facebook, and it's round and round the world dozens of times, right? Instantly. So even if within an hour or whatever, quickly, we find out, oh, nothing. It's just someone made a mistake in how they entered the votes. The machines did their job, but a human messed up. The machines are doing the actual count. The human is just doing the count that the world sees at that moment. So the error would not have affected the actual election because the machine had the correct count. So the error wasn't even relevant. But before you see any of that, the idea is promoted around the world that the election being stolen. Goes through social media, Trump allies, politicians, Trump, of course, Trump himself, and Crowder, Blaze TV, all of these bad faith actors who push this very profitable content. If you're conservative, you're definitely going to want to see a video about how the election's being stolen from you. So you're automatically going to get views. You're going to get subscribers. People who want to, okay, this person's tracking this process. And they're reporting the stuff mainstream media is not reporting. Let me subscribe so I can find out all the stuff. I want to know. They're going to try and steal this election. I want to know. I want to see what we can do about it. Right? And you get people glued to your channel, watching everything. Oh, wow, Sharpie Gate. Right? And then you keep doing that. Doesn't matter how small it is. Because the other part of the scheme is, if you keep pointing out a bunch of things, then it's kind of like, okay, all these things, okay, that you explain, that you explain. But at a certain point in time, It's too much. Clearly, the election is being stolen. Add to that paranoia because of Donald Trump. Again, the whole thing's been a setup. Months before the election, he's been saying they're going to steal the election, blah, blah, blah. Put it in people's minds. He made an entire nation paranoid. So they were ripe for the picking. It wouldn't take much to convince them because they're already expecting it. So you say a little something, something. Oh, there was a lady with a hat. Oh, my goodness, I knew it. That's it. That was the whole scheme.
You know, and some of these reports show that you got ties to Dianne Feinstein's family, to Nancy Pelosi's family. You've got a Russian oligarch with ties to ownership in some of these voting system companies.
Those same outlets were then forced to admit they had no evidence of those claims after Dominion threatened to sue.
It's so messed up that even though the news that was pushing out these lies, they did the retraction, many wouldn't see the retractions, or they would just in one ear and out the other. One thing I didn't see, and that's why I say independent media, they can be the best, but they can also be much worse than mainstream media because there's no accountability. I didn't see one retraction from one independent channel. Crowder was one of the worst. Did he post a video saying, hey guys, the election wasn't stolen? Even knowing that there's potential violence that can still happen, Crowder is not willing to post a single video saying, hey, the election was not stolen, right? Blaze TV not willing to do it. These independent channels not willing to let their viewers know the truth, just like Trump. They know that more people can die because of this lie, but rather than correct it, in fact, Steven Crowder is still pushing this nonsense. Meanwhile, my channel gets deleted. He, millionaire? Right. Oh, and by the way, conservatives are being censored. I guess I'm a conservative.
We at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those kinds of allegations. We just want to let people know that there's nothing substantive that we've seen.
But the lie had already taken on a life of its own. At one point, White House officials and Trump's outside lawyers got into a heated exchange in the Oval Office over using the power of the U.S. government to seize Dominion voting machines. That never happened. Dominion released a strongly worded statement refuting the disinformation and sued Trump lawyers Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell for $1.3 billion each for spreading the false claims.
The other part of the scheme, you had some 60 court cases. If you actually look at the court cases, you could see it was nonsense, completely ridiculous. I mean, they were putting stuff in there that wouldn't even matter. But outside of the court, they were big talk. Millions of votes, stealing, blah, 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 Venezuela. They go into court real quiet like a mouse. What does conservative media do? Do they show what's happening in the court? Do they show the truth? No. They don't report on the court cases. Those that even mention the court cases, they just kind of do the Bill Barr approach, right? They just frame it in a way that makes it, that downplays what's happening in there. Rather than say what's actually happening, what's in the lawsuit, what did the judge say? Rather than doing that, they just they don't even want to look at the evidence. To an audience that wants to believe the election is stolen. So they're not going to challenge that. You could simply say vague stuff like that, frame it however. Oh, standing, right? That was a big common manipulation tactic they use. Oh, they didn't actually look at the evidence. It was based on standing, not on merit. Right? And it sounds like you know what you're talking about. It's standing, not on merit, right? To your audience watching, and you're an authority figure as a conservative commentator. Like, okay. Then they go tell their friends, no, it was because of standing. That spreads around, and they feel like they're informed, like they know. You don't know. You're watching mainstream media. You're brainwashed. You should think for yourself. You should look into the. I'm the one who's actually looking at the court cases. One of the few. From what I've seen, a lot of people didn't actually look at much of the court cases. I had bookmarks on my browser to sites that had all the court briefs. That's one of the reasons why my channel got deleted, by the way. I simply was reading one of the court briefs on the lawsuit for Sidney Powell. Reading the lawsuit, the $1 billion lawsuit. Got suspended for that.
They have denied wrongdoing and have said they will fight the suit in court. Gabriel Sterling, a Republican Georgia election administrator who voted for Trump, said the Dominion machines were used successfully in every county in Georgia.
Another thing, you could be the hardest core Republican, even Trump supporter, and you speak the truth, you're a rhino. It never ends.
We did a hand tally. This showed the ballots cast matched with the machines counted. That's just essentially way beyond any reasonable doubt.
Also in Georgia, another false claim that went viral centered on this video. Conspiracy theorists claimed showed ballots being pulled from a suitcase at a polling center. Turns out,
They called it a suitcase. What it was a ballot carrier. And you can see in all the videos, there's ballot carriers all over the place. The monitors and the press were all in the room. So there was nothing nefarious about this.
in fact, many of the ballot counting places across the country allowed for live stream monitoring for the general public to watch, or had video that could be scrutinized by the public later, as was the case in Georgia. Then it was dead people voting. Trump claimed
This is the power of propaganda. One of the most scrutinized and monitored and watched elections in history. And people believe that massive election fraud went down. You got all these cameras literally watching everything at poll watchers, right? It's all on video. People literally showing surveillance video of supposedly election fraud. So these people are underneath cameras supposedly stealing the election. And this is how I get my channel deleted, because I said stealing the election in my video. Anyway, it's like, are you kidding me? There's cameras everywhere. They're live streaming it so you can see it's all legit. And it's like the people watching it, they're not even thinking in their minds. I don't even think they even register that that's their own security cameras, right? They almost feel like someone who is, keeping an eye on them got them in the act. No, that's their own video. The people you're accusing of stealing the election, that's their video that they're providing to you to show that they're not stealing the election. And you're using their own video saying, hey, you're stealing the election. What? What? And the dead people voting.
and there were thousands of dead people voting in Georgia. The reality?
We're aware of 2 dead people, not 10,000, who voted.
Biden's victory in Georgia was verified with recounts. But that didn't stop Trump from pressuring the Georgia Secretary of State to find just enough votes to overturn Biden's victory.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
The media honed in a lot on that statement, and I think the call was definitely bad. But this particular line, I don't think that was the smoking gun that the media made it out to be. The way I read that is, in every election, there's going to be fraud. In every election, there's going to be mistakes. If you can find enough fraud and enough mistakes to close the margin, then you can flip the election. So that statement in itself, again, the call was definitely shady and looked like he was trying to manipulate the election. There was pressuring representatives and trying to, basically, in my view, commit election fraud. But that single statement itself, to me, sounded like a statement that comes from a legitimate process, which, again, when you challenge an election, you look for fraudulent votes or errors, and you challenge them. And ideally, you want to find enough of those that can change the results. That's legit. That's fine. No issues there. Only thing you can say there is that his priority was not in focusing on the integrity of the election. It was focusing on how can I win, right? Because he didn't even want to find like all the fraud. He just wanted enough to turn the results. But then again, he had limited time. But that's my view. I just don't think that statement was the smoking gun. But this propaganda works both ways. The same way that you can easily fool people that the election's being stolen, the people who want to believe that, you can present this to the other side, and they're all like, oh my goodness, look, we got him. She's trying to find votes. It's not about conservatives versus liberals. It's emotions, right? You can play with people's emotions based on what they want to believe is true. Even in this case where what they believe is true actually is true, but it's just this particular element might actually not be a big deal. But if you present it as such, they'll believe it as such. They won't question it. They won't like, wait a minute, what do you actually mean by that? They're not going to think like that. The same way that the people are not going to think like that when you say 2.7 million votes flipped or whatever. They're not going to look into it and like, what really happened? No, they're going to be like, I knew it.
Because we won the state.
It was just such a weird phone call to listen to because you don't expect to hear that. It was just sort of hit me as